You ready? Call the meeting to order. We want to welcome all visitors and guests if they're in. We do have a quorum at the record show. All board members are present. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of June 26, 23 minutes.
Make a motion. I'll second.
Got a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of board agenda. All set.
Make a motion.
I'll second. Got a motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Any public comment at this time?
Good evening.
You got 3 minutes.
You got you. This was sent via email last evening from Miss Ashley Andrews. She's a parent and employee of Jones County Public Schools, and I'm just going to read verbatim the email. It says, "Greeting Jones County Public School Board. I would like to first thank you for many ways that you support the staff and students in Jones County. Second, I would like to share some information that supports Jones Senior High School, grades 6 through 12, starting the school day 30 minutes later than the previous school year. Sources for this research include the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Education Association, and they are linked after each excerpt. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, a Jones County Public Schools parent who happens to be a JCPS school counselor, Ms. Ashley Andrews." And she's provided the research document for each of you to have.
Anybody else? Good. Discussion item. Department update.
Board members, you have a department update, and it outlines the progress that each department is making as we're getting ready for a new school year. You see the various things with transportation, where they're working on a GPS system, all the things that Tim has been working on with his maintenance, with a wide range of activities, as well as the EC department, child nutrition. Every department's giving you an update. Susan's giving you a testing update, as well as Victor with several technology updates. And so please review those things, and if you have questions for any of us or any department, you can let me know, and we'll give any information to you regarding those departments and their work.
Mr. Spurrier, any questions on the department update?
No questions.
Mr. Yap,
No, at this time.
Mr. Griffin. Mr. Griffin.
Yes, sir.
All right, budget report.
Good evening, everyone. There has not been a lot of change in our budget since we met last. We still have not received our final state allocation yet, so we are still operating off of our interim budget at this point. And in the last month, the only thing that we've had in terms of our budget is that, of course, for the month of July, we paid our normal payroll, and we've had our first payment made for our Apple refresh, the lease for $143,000. That payment has occurred in this last month. But other than that, it's just normal operating expenses for the budget. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer at this time.
Ms. Bird, any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Fiat?
No.
Mr. Griffin?
Does this sheet here include the budget money, or we gonna go over this later? This one here was a little on top where I had it.
That's a separate thing.
Okay.
Different thing.
No, I don't have any questions.
Ooh,
Larry had mine all mixed up.
I got you. Alright, thank you. Down into it. Discussion item C, new pension cap law.
We received a memo regarding, I know you had talked to Attorney David Nolan about pension payment we had to make, and Ms. Raby had communicated with Mr. Nolan and provided him some information. And I was in hopes that our board attorney could give us some insight to this.
Sure. So this is the new session law signed into law back in June. Board members have a memo that includes some confidential personnel information. I won't delve into the personnel information, but I'll just note that generally, the board has a matter that this law would directly apply to. It essentially has three main provisions. There's a safe harbor provision that eliminates the teaser's assessment liability altogether if certain conditions are met. There's a safe harbor provision to all assessments issued after January 1st. And there's also authorization for teasers to resolve current litigation through application of the new safe harbor provisions. Jones County has not been involved in the pending litigation that some districts have been embroiled in over the pension cap or pension spiking litigation that has ensued. Instead, many districts for whom teasers asked for a certain assessment were kind of put on a moratorium status while the law resolved itself and while this working group came together. In the memo that you all have in your board materials that my colleague Patricia Robinson prepared, she lays out some different things that could happen with respect to the one case the board has before it. That would best be discussed in the specifics of strategy around that particular matter in closed session because it pertains to confidential personnel information. But finance officers and districts that are impacted have gotten a district-specific memo like this from Barrington Smith so that finance officers can reach out and coordinate about how to meet any legal requirements.
Any questions, Ms. Bird?
No questions.
Mr. Griffin? Mr. Walker? Alright, superintendent update comments.
Good afternoon, board. I want to, as I mentioned earlier, we're preparing for a new school year to begin. I wanted to give you some dates of important things that are happening as we move forward, and Candace will include these dates in your update on Thursday, so you'll have them in a written form. But our teachers return August 14th. Our students will return August the 28th. We have our open houses scheduled for August the 24th. Most of those are from 3 to 6 in the afternoon. There's a little bit of difference with Maysville. They're doing 10 to 12, and then another time in the afternoon that's a little bit different, but most of the rest of them are from 3 to 6. And we have open house scheduled for October the 24th. And so those are key dates for you as board members. And as I said, Candace will also get those to you in an email.
Dr. Thigpen, excuse me, you say students come back the 24th?
The 28th.
28th.
The open house is the 24th.
And half 20.
And convocation is the 21st at 9 a.m. as well.
What day is that, Tuesday or Monday?
The convocation is a Monday.
At 8? You said 8 o'clock
9 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
It's mighty early.
at the high school? You don't know?
Yes.
You also have in your packet an athletic pay scale. And Chris Wagner, who's the athletic director, and I spent some time working on it last week. And this is the proposed athletic pay scale. We wanted to give it to you for you to have an opportunity to look at it and review it, and we plan to have it on the agenda for September. However, Ms. Raby, I want to sit down with her and work through it so she knows and understands if we can make sure we can afford everything before we vote and approve this pay scale. And so my plans are to work with her toward the end of this week and next week and us discuss athletics in full. But we've spent, time on that with the athletic director and coaches to make sure we've got everything as it should be. So,
How long has it been since there has been an increase in pay for coaches?
I can only speak, when I came, they were operating on sort of a pay scale, and this will be the first update since I came in January of 2020.
2020, so 3 years there has not been one.
Right.
Any questions, Phil? You got something?
I retired too early.
You smile.
I don't see nobody getting rich off of this.
Well,
I mean, you gotta
And
be
you would've been
you gotta be
surprised,
dedicated as well.
you'd have been surprised in earlier years,
By the time you run a route and take time out to practice, you're not making a whole lot.
but it wasn't about the money either.
$40 every time you go to McDonald's, at least, part of the job.
It's true.
Is there any way we can get, last year's rate, just to see a comparison?
Yes, we'll get that.
What did you ask tonight?
We wanted last year's pay scale versus the new pay scale. And so we'll, Candace, make sure we get that to you. But
If you could send that to us once you and finance get it squared away so we can have it before the meeting,
sure.
it would be good, last year's and the new one.
The, last week, Dr. Parker, Ashley Andrews, Kaylee Priest, Dr. Hunt from LCC, Dr. Black, and Dr. Maddox Fisher came and we had a work session in here with them about aligning, first of all, about them supporting our comprehensive innovative high school application, and that went very well. But the conversation extended into other areas where they could help us in other areas, and it was a great conversation and very beneficial for us. And there's a really good relationship between LCC and Jones Senior High School, and we want that to continue. I wanted to share with you a collaboration that involves Lenore County, Greene County, and Jones County. And this is a program that we have worked collaboratively with those other two counties in order to bring people from Jones County that want to enter the teaching profession. It will kind of pave their way through their program so they can become a teacher, and we'll begin that this year. It's called the Lancer Educator Apprentice Promise, and I'm not going to read everything, but it's a collaboration between our three counties because we know there's a shortage of teachers, and so if we can find Jones County people that are interested in becoming a teacher, this will practically send them through at no cost, where they can come back and be a teacher. And the requirement will be that they work for us for 3 years once they complete the program. And so we will, all the expenses will be covered. The only cost is, for us, is to pay the tuition of the 3rd and 4th year, but that's not the books and fees and all that, is the tuition part, which is about $3,000. And so it's
But they're gonna come back to
Jones County.
if they're Jones County, they come back to Jones County, they come back to one of the other two.
Well, the first priority is that they come back to Jones County and teach with us. However, if we do not have a vacancy and Lenore or Greene County does, then they would go work in Lenore or Greene County till we have an opening and then come back to us. And so that's the
If they're
agreement.
qualified, I mean, what if they don't, what if they're not up to snuff? What happens then?
Well, the ones that, it's gonna be a very selective program, and so the students that get into this, we anticipate will be very solid, and we don't anticipate having any issues like that with it.
are we gonna, and you may say this later on, I hadn't gotten past the second page, but, it looks like it starts, at 16, so I'm guessing there will be a recruitment process.
Yes, there will be a selection and process where we pick, and we would only have 1 to 2 students involved in that.
Just for size alone, I'm
Just
guessing.
for size alone.
Gotcha.
And even the larger counties are gonna have 4, so that's
Is that,
pretty well.
are we putting a cap on it, or could we, allow more?
I'm sure we could expand it if we wanted to
Okay.
down the road.
Okay.
How are we paying for this, or how is it getting paid? I understand about the tuition the last 2 years, but how about prior to that? What's paying for it then? Are we getting some type of grant or what?
LCC is taking care of all.
It's through LCC?
Yes, they're taking care of all of that, as well as, they'll have an apprenticeship where they can earn some money, part-time. But there will, and I'm trying to get here to this slide, but basically what will happen, there's a kind of a breakdown. They will end up with 0 cost.
Well, they get an associate degree from LCC, and we pay for that 3rd and 4th year, is that?
We only
they go
pay
through
for the years with East Carolina, the tuition only.
You mean LCC?
No,
I'm sorry,
LCC's
I'm
got,
sorry. I'm
They
not
just go
looking
2
up.
years at
Okay,
LCC,
my
they
bad.
have to go to another college
then
after that.
they're working with East Carolina for the 3rd and 4th.
It'll be, okay, they don't go with Wilmington, it's just ECU.
It's with East Carolina,
Wherever they finish.
East Carolina.
So this is in addition to the Educators of Color grant.
Yes, yes. And then this is in addition to the things that we had talked last week with LCC about. And so this is, I wanted to make you aware of that. And we're excited with the partnership with LCC and with Green and Leonard County. And so,
And this all arose from the last series of meetings we've had with them, or is it something we had cooking?
we have been working on this for about a year. And so the last series of meetings we had talked about this collaborative innovative high school grant that we're trying to get transition to.
Is it Carter County doing that, or something similar?
We are one of the only districts that does not have collaborative innovative high school program.
Here's the answer to my recruiting question, starts in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so, I provided you that handout, but we're excited about it. And if you have any questions that arise, I just wanted you to be aware of it. And certainly, if you have any questions, please let us know. You have a handout that Bryce will talk to you about in executive session where we've knew we've had to make some position reductions, and so we'll speak to you about that when we were running a little bit over budget. ESSER funds are gonna run out, and we've made adjustments, so we've brought everything, we feel like, closer into balance. And since we did not get funding additionally from the county commissioners, that's necessitated that we begin to take those steps, and so we'll talk in more detail about that. And you've got a handout related to that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is Candace has sat down and analyzed our transfers, who's the percentage of students coming in, the percentage of students leaving, and she's gonna send that report to you so you can see exactly how many transfers there are, how many's coming in, how many's going out. And most of them are related to teachers, where teachers are bringing their children with them to us, or if they're teaching in another county, they're going with them to that. Most of the transfers, I would say 70–80%, Candace, is that?
Give or take.
Are related to those kind of things. And so, but that, you should get that information. So, any questions about any of that or otherwise that you all would have?
Mr. Watson, any questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Griffin? It's for y'all.
No questions.
All right, thank you all very much.
All right, we're moving into our action items, 2023-24 child nutrition bids.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Morton. I just wanted to thank y'all for this opportunity to be your new child nutrition director. And I'm asking or requesting for approval for the child nutrition bids for the school year 23-24. All bids are rolled over from the previous year. Prices are updated to reflect the current market trend.
Do you know how much what the prices went up?
I don't, not right off the top of my head. I didn't put it in my letter, but I will get back to you with that information.
So we need to make a motion to set the bids for the rollover bids. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of food system bid.
First of all, I'd like to apologize to the board. I didn't come tonight seeking approval for the bid. But what I did do, we scheduled this tonight to get your approval to move forward with the bid. And let me try to explain what I'm talking about. 2 years ago, we formed a committee here at Jones County called the Capital Needs Committee. And in that 2 years, we looked at capital projects and we tried to prioritize and what we would move forward with and what we had money to work with at the time and things we could make happen. And tried not to overspend while we were doing that. And one of those things that's come up over the last 5 years is our fuel system that we use now for transportation. That system was installed back in the early 60s. And we've looked at upgrading that system and repairing that system, and it's gotten to the point that it's very antiquated, and we're gonna have to move forward with doing something with that system. So what we looked at was maybe upgrading part of that system down there. We looked at a significant cost to do that. That cost just to upgrade the pumps at the fuel tanks we have now was gonna run somewhere in excess of about $80,000. And after talking to the guys down there and talking about the condition that our existing tanks are in at this time, they were estimating probably in 5 more years we might replace those tanks as well. Well, when we discussed that down there, I suggested that we actually, instead of upgrade our existing fuel farm, is that we install a new fuel farm that would better fit our needs today. And what this would do for us is we wouldn't have to go through an interim period that we may have to purchase fuel off-site or run into a problem getting fuel off-site while this system was down. It's significant cost. I mean, it's, and I've crunched the numbers several different ways. And what you have in front of you is an estimate from Go Energies, and that does not incur all the costs that this project's gonna take. That is the cost of the pump, the tanks, the actual infrastructure, but it don't take into consideration for site prep and electrical that's gonna have to go with that. And that's gonna probably take an additional $25,000 to $30,000 for that to happen. With that being said, we have a fund balance now of a little over $362,000 for capital projects. We have some capital projects we're gonna have to move forward with besides this, and that's gonna probably encumber another $20,000 to $25,000. That has to do with the greenhouse projects going on at the high school. It has to do with completion of the fence project. It was a capital project from last year. So there's a few out there that still exist and that we're gonna spend some money on. And we don't want to spend that fund balance down to zero either. But anyway, with all that being said, what I would like to do is to get board approval and move forward with the capital project of putting a new fuel system in down at the transportation department. And first of all, there's gonna have to be an RPF written on it. It's gonna have to be bid out. And I will bring you back that bid at some point in time if you choose to move forward with this. But it's such a number, I feel like we need to present it before we move forward with this project, because it is gonna take a large amount of our capital funding to make this thing happen. So if you would have any questions for me, anything I'd like to answer, please feel free to ask anything you need to.
What's the other capital projects behind it that you're looking at doing?
Well, over the last 5 years, we formed this committee for this reason, because obviously, we used our capital funding in a different direction for the new school out there. So we've put things on hold like painting schools. We haven't painted any schools in the last 6 years. Anytime you paint a school, you're looking at $70,000 to $80,000 per project to do that. So our schools are actually coming up. The high school at the end of 7 years will be an additional cost incurred for that. We also have to consider that's part of our contracts are running out for 2024 on our new school out there that have to do our HVAC system that we figure in the original bid that'll end up that we're going to have to pick up this contracts with Brady in the future. The PV contracts I have to be picked up, so there's some capital stuff needs coming up in the future. But I mean, and that's future. We're probably safe on painting schools for another 3 years. We're safe on the stuff out there at school for December 21st, 2024 is when that contract comes due. And I'm working with Brady right now on working up a contract so that we're not going through first floor and then going through Brady to make that happen. So that's things we're doing right now to try to save some funding. But we're at the point now, and I crunched the numbers on this system if we install it. Right now, we're using about 8,000 gallons of diesel per month on average, about 3,000 gallons of gasoline per average. We're saving by purchasing on the market about 16 to 18 cents a gallon, and sometimes it's as much as 20 cents a gallon we save by purchasing our fuel directly from Go Energies. If you crunch the numbers on that, the payback on this system is around $225,000, not including interest on your money. Your payback will come back within about 10 years on what we've saved not outsourcing fuel.
Are these above ground tanks that,
They're actually triple wall tanks that meet all our requirements. And that's one of the things we're running into with the tanks we have down there now is because at some point in time they're gonna have to be replaced because they are antiquated. So all these new tanks that we're talking about, what we're talking about doing is purchasing one tank that fits the bill for both requirements. And it'll be a card reader tank, so they're going to be upgraded to so the system accountability will be there. It'll even, there's some pluses you can get with this system. Say you got an athletic bus that's left the county and needs to purchase fuel. We can take that card and purchase fuel on the market through this system through Go Energies. Things like that we can figure in as well. That's a plus that we can't do at this point in time.
is that the same system that, the county uses for theirs?
The county, I believe, does use Go Energies. Their system is similar to that. I think what we're looking at has a few upgrades that have developed since that system was put in, but it's basically the same system. And what we were looking at was purchasing one tank that would fit both bills. So actually what they have is a tank that's a 12,000 gallon tank total that will hold 8,000 of one product and 4,000 of the other product.
But in the tanker load, a little bit, I mean, that's not a whole tanker load.
Well, when we purchase fuel, and we purchase through Go Energies, we don't always purchase a tanker load at a time. They'll actually split loads for us. Matter of fact, for the schools I bought as little as 2,000 gallons at a time, and it still got that price because they're a split load of tanker because we purchased directly from them.
So Green, these people provide the fuel and the
Well, that's
gas.
who we do purchase from is Go Energies. And I have a quote from them because it was just easy to get an estimate. I wanted y'all to see what this cost was gonna be. And I can tell you, Go Energies is hard to beat. They really are. And I don't think it's a low bid, but I'm just saying you're dollar wise, after I've looked at everything that's going to cover to make this happen, it's gonna be around $225,000.
Do we pay road tax on that fuel?
I have to defer that to, we pay tax on everything else, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
We're not tax exempt, and as far as I know, we do pay road
Yeah.
tax. The only break we get on road tax is when I buy fuel for a heating system. And that way we buy number 2 fuel. But to my knowledge, we are not deferred on road tax. The only thing we're deferred on is buying direct and buying on the market. We can spot buy and save money, and that's what we've been doing in the past.
Does DOT pay road tax?
And I cannot
I was asking our attorney. What's the difference in a state school system and Department of Transportation system?
In terms of the taxing,
Does DOT pay road tax on their fuel they use?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
But I mean,
I don't know.
we ought to challenge it if they don't, we ought not have to.
I know for us, we get a refund every year. You pay it up front, but you get refunded for it.
That's what fire department is too. We
Pretty sure
have to
it's
pay it
just
out,
get
and then I file it at the,
Everybody get
every
refunded
quarter,
for it.
and you get it back.
Yep.
Which I think we discussed at one time, that
Yeah, I think
you
it's
all
good.
get it back.
We do.
Yeah, that's a refund.
So the tanks, though, you have to purchase the tanks.
Yes, ma'am, the system will belong to us.
Yeah. So,
Go Energies has a separate division that does installation, and we would purchase the equipment outright. The only thing that we may get from them is some software.
so they don't, if we're gonna buy their fuel, they won't provide us a tank and software.
And I wish they would, but,
Have we checked around, like with Cherry or any of them?
Yeah, I'm
well,
saying.
and that's what this is about, and that's why I apologize, is I'm not asking for approval, I'm asking for approval to go forward with this, and I'll bring you back
Yeah.
the best bid I can.
But
And we'll reserve that right to not do it if you don't want to. It won't be written in stone. But I didn't want to move forward with a project this large without y'all being aware of it and our account balance and where it stands today.
what happens if Go Energy don't win the bid? And it's seems like that's the system you want.
Well, we're gonna write the specifications for the system that we want and what we want in it. And who wins that bid will have to meet our specifications on that order.
So you okay
So-
if it ain't?
In other words, we're gonna write the specifications for what we want. And then who wins that bid will have to meet those specifications.
What does the state require for us to have fuel storage on site? They have certain specifications for the tank.
They do, and it's just a tank requirement, and this needs so much.
Does it have to be double or triple wall?
True.
It does now?
Well, I take that back, I'd have to research.
These out here probably single wall.
They are, and they're in a containment system. So, and the actual containment system is kind of full on that single wall with a containment system, but the tank sits inside the containment system. And the containment system is the point it's about to fail.
If we went to alternative bids or sources, I'm gonna put words in your mouth, but Go Energy's probably gonna bring more to the game all the way around than what we could find from what I'm getting from what.
We're gonna write a requirement of what specifications this needs to meet. Once that's written, it'll be put out for bid, and those folks, hopefully bidding does bring forth competition, so. But I don't want you to be blindsided thinking that we're gonna save $30,000 when we're not. I mean, I've crunched the numbers on this, and I'm hoping I could bring it in for around $225,000.
Well, I would make a motion to get some more bids and see where we stand.
So the motion to move forward with this project.
Or, see what we've got to work with.
Posting an RFP.
Off P. That's your motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of B-Rail server lease.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Good evening. We've had some approval of the BigRail server lease. BigRail is a server that hosts several critical servers that we use. The amount of the lease is $32,000 a year for 4 years. Includes this is the way installation, the moving of our existing machines over to the new server, and
Any questions?
that's about it.
Have we used these before?
Uh,
Have we used this group before, whatever it is?
Have
The
you
server, the server, have we used this server before?
yes, this actually will replacing the big real server we have now.
Okay.
And it will also include, 5 years of maintenance software, hardware maintenance.
May I ask a brief question? I just wanted to ask, is this, funded in part by federal funds at all?
No,
No.
they're all.
Okay.
We don't have any questions, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Well, the 119,000 is over a period of how many years?
4 years.
4 years, so it's $30-some thousand a year, not at one time, just.
Okay,
Under
I
that.
think it's like some installation charges they didn't have on that, I
Okay. I'll second.
don't remember what they were.
Just wanna be sure the board has the final amount that it's approving
Yeah,
for it.
and is that the final amount? Do we know? The 119?
This
Yeah.
is the number for the,
Is
is
that,
that accurate?
That is, but it doesn't include the installation charges.
so what is the final amount that we're approving?
I didn't have that, I think I sent you the quote instead of the actual lease.
So I think the board has two options, that the board could either, elect to bring this back once you have specification of kind of the service charge, or since it'll be a total number for both kind of the purchase of the software itself, the server, but also installation, right, the service of it and
Yes.
maintenance of it, what you could do is, ask for an estimate right now about what that additional amount will be, and authorize a contract not to exceed, for example, $130,000 or $140,000. You might consider having it recommended by me or by David Nolan, your board attorney, since it's for a hefty sum, and it's gonna include some services as well as tech devices.
I think it would probably be wise to get an installation fee so we know what we're looking at.
Does this have to be done this meeting?
Probably need to be.
I mean,
done.
is it urgent? Is this urgent?
No,
Did you make
I
this?
mean,
we.
what would you recommend?
Table.
So I'd recommend that if you don't need to, if you're not gonna run out of the service or the server that you need before the next meeting, that you might ask, you to return the next time with a more specific number.
Yeah.
I can also pass along to Mr. Nolan to prepare a service agreement that would contemplate some of the protections we typically advise be in place for tech deals like this.
So we don't have to worry about it doing this until after September the 10th or whenever our next meeting is.
Right, because we're still waiting on some money from the sale of computers.
Well, let's table it.
Take place.
Your motion?
Yeah.
Is that your motion, Dylan?
Okay.
Is that your motion?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Got a motion table?
Second.
Got a motion second. Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? 2023-24 fee schedule.
Yes, you'll have before you 2 pages for the fee schedule. The first fee schedule, the general fees for the high school and for the elementary schools and for the insurance has not changed from the prior year. So we are just requesting approval, to continue with those same fees going into the next year. The second page that you have is for the technology fees. And you can see what the fees were in 2023 and then what we're requesting here in 2024 and the difference, or the increases that are being requested moving forward. If there are any specific questions regarding any of those increases, I'll have to ask Victor to come up and, answer those questions for you.
Ms.
Victoria, any questions?
Just, as far as school fees, do we have a way with working with the parents that may have multiple children for them to be able to maybe make payments or whatnot? I see a nod, that might not be.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, Ms. Lisa, I can find out, if there's some
Okay.
arrangement that they can make if they're not able to pay them right up front.
Okay.
I got a question, probably to Victor. What's our most common damage as far as the students go, as far as their iPads or laptops, whatever?
What are the most common damages for the laptop?
Breaking screens,
Do what?
breaking screens.
Breaking the screens?
In the event we would have another natural disaster, like a flood or whatever, would our insurance cover these if they were at that kid's home? Cause, the last hurricane in which we had extensive
That's a good question.
water, it was enough for them to just get out of the house. And if this equipment's in there, I don't want them to have to pay, this amount for it to be covered. Personally, are we covered through the school?
Victor, the insurance.
Does that make sense?
I'm not sure if the insurance, school insurance covered it, because we're going with Apple Care this year
Okay,
for repairs. All from stolen.
like fire,
Not covered.
We dropped the insurance to save funds, didn't we, Victor? Victor, didn't we drop the insurance we were paying to save funds?
That's right,
That's what I thought.
except for the other
Apple.
existing iPads we have now.
There's a fire or flood, either one. Probably the two most common ones that would have.
And I can check with our insurance company to see because I know that the purpose behind most of these equipment is that the students are able to go from home and back to school because they do have assignments that they have to do at home.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll be glad to check with the insurance company to see if our liability insurance here for the schools cover
They
any
have
damage
to
at home.
have proof that, through.
Do you do these repairs, or do you send it back to Apple or whoever we're doing it?
Okay, they'll be going to Apple.
So we don't do any type of repairs on,
Not in-house.
right.
Do we normally get 100% of this collection wise?
Before we graduate.
No, but we do have payment plans. I know if, we
I
work
don't
with,
see that
with kids and parents with fees that they need to pay overtime and all those things, we've been doing that.
So they pretty much have the entire school year probably to
They-
get it taken care of and some kind of agreement will be in place.
We also have fee waivers, that can be approved by myself, directors, or the principal in case a family has a hardship or does need to be paid.
I know in the past, not thinking of hardship, but you paid it before you graduated, before you walked across that stage. With the exception of what you just said.
Need a motion?
To adopt these fees,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adopt them.
I'll second.
Got a motion second, all in favor?
Fine.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Budget amendment number 1.
On your budget amendment, the only change that has occurred since the last, budget was approved is an increase in our federal grant funds. We have received notification from DPI that we will be receiving some carry forward funds that were not spent. And so I'm asking to include that in our budget moving forward. And that's the increase of the $350,697.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Action item L, school arousal dismissal times.
Board members, I shared with you in the activity report this week some background information about the change in times with drop-off and dismissal at Jones Senior High School. And I sat down with Dr. Parker and Mr. Noble last week, and we talked through this situation about, if there's a difference between a parent having a child at Trenton Elementary and Jones Senior, and gave you that information that they had worked together to create a plan. For example, if a parent was dropping off a kid at the elementary school and had a high school student, they were going to make some accommodations where the high school student could go ahead and report to the high school, and they would have a space for them to study and before school. Or if an elementary, let's say we have a sibling at the elementary school and at the high school, and the parent was coming to pick up at the high school time, we have staff members at Jones Senior that also have elementary age students. And Dr. Parker and Mr. Noble were going to work on a situation where those elementary kids would come into that teacher's classroom and they would keep them. So I know you all have gotten feedback. Dr. Parker is also here that can answer any questions, and so we're open for any questions you have or concerns you have related to that.
Can you just give an overview of the reasoning? No, sit back. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not even football season, you already talked. And to answer this, to address Ms. Video, we do have a coaching vacancy if you'd like to take advantage of that snooze scale.
If I could, I would. I want to join activity bus,
I
but
know we got.
I couldn't do it, and so I just let my CDL go, so
Well, I can get you the bus driver.
they wouldn't let me do it.
We started having this conversation back around March with the school improvement team about the overcrowded cafeteria situation at Jones Senior and Trenton Elementary. Our breakfast, it's really hard to feed 700 kids in that amount of time, and then to feed that same amount of kids in that small window from 11 to 1:30, it's really hard. We really need about 30 minutes per lunch for about 2 grade levels. In addition, last year we actually had high school students and elementary students eating at the same time. We revamped our lunch schedules, and then we had 1 grade level of our middle school eating with our elementary, and that was 8th graders and kindergartners and 1st graders eating together. There's a shared bathroom space at that time as well. The only bathroom on that end of the wing is shared K-12. We really didn't want our elementary kids coming in contact with high school things. I'll leave it at that. Well, the language of living in high school students is a lot different than elementary school, so there's a lot of conversation between Ms. Downs, who was principal at the time, and myself. With the small finite space that we have, there really is no other way to feed and keep everyone safe. After meeting with our school improvement team, we talked about that for about 2 months. We met with our SGA, our Student Government Association, after our school improvement team had approved it. We spoke with the central office staff, just to see, what possibilities do we have if not this. Our school improvement team approved it. Took it to our SGA. We met with some parents that were available to come and talk. Didn't hear anything about it. It was for the safety of the kids, basically. Everybody agreed. So, in addition, it would help with having a labor hour with double routes. If we had a high school bus that was on a double route, we could send the elementary bus out that got there earlier, depending on which school it comes from. And there's a lot of research to suggest that a later start time for teenagers is beneficial to the teenage brain, and that goes back to 20 or 30 years of research that would support that. We're not doing it for that reason, but that would just be gravy on top of the mashed potatoes if it does lend itself to increased academic performance. Ours is mainly a safety and space issue, to be honest with you.
Any questions, Ms. Burger?
We only spoke of Trenton Elementary. Does any of this affect Maysville Pottsville Comfort that has siblings at the high school that can be worked with?
Forgot to mention that. During the principal meeting, I spoke with our elementary principals. At the time, they didn't see any issues with that. I don't know if that's changed since Ms. Downs went to Followsville. I doubt it,
Okay.
but I can be wrong.
But they have an action in place if the kids need to stay till the sibling can pick them up or whatever.
Yes, ma'am, and we actually have a early childhood education class that we're gonna try to build some projects into that with that, but we also have some of our LCC students that need, hours, so for their National Honor Society and their, CT Honor Society, so this would, kill two birds with one stone. And there are 3 teachers that have kids at Jones Senior that have kids at Trim, and they all have concrete full periods. So we've been able to schedule that. So
Okay, I'll have you further questions.
How would the staff be compensated? Where would that funding come from? That's gonna get there early enough to keep the kid, the elementary kid, until the high school gets there, or vice versa.
so our staff gets there at 7 with this new change. Our staff will be here at 7:45. Elementary opens at 7:30. It'll be a duty. Anybody with first period planning will have that duty. Everyone has a
Okay.
duty. No one will have to get there any earlier.
I know there's some state laws, yeah, I'm sure you,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, looked into as far as the time of the day and things
Yes,
like
ma'am.
that.
Mr. Griffin,
I don't think I got anything.
Mr. Walsh.
I'm a little bit behind on this, but I'm guessing we contacted parents. Have we
Yes,
put
sir.
out a-
Mr. Barrett, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We've not informed her.
Yeah. Percentage wise, favorable.
I haven't heard anything until they couldn't come see me last week.
Thank you, sir.
And the high school student will be able to go into the school at 7:30.
Yes, sir.
If it on her.
Yes, sir. If they need to.
Yes. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. Good.
Glad you got to see Mr. Brown.
Need a motion?
Make a motion to adopt the new, schedule.
Got a motion?
Did we hear from, or is this parents that was here to speak? That they might have missed speaking? Were we supposed to listen to them? I don't know what it's for, I'm just asking.
You had your public comment.
We had our public comment.
Did they want to speak?
Did you all wanna speak?
I mean, if y'all wanna have another time, yeah, I would. I mean, I sent an email out about the school matter.
Yeah, that's why I think she's asking, did you want to speak
Mm-hmm.
your opinion about it in here before we make a vote?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can,
That's,
if y'all already gone through.
that's why she's here.
Let's cover all every situation if we can. I like to hear what they got to say.
I think if they made the time to make it here, we should listen to them.
Everybody's
I know.
schedule may not allow them to be here right at 5. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, my name's Kelly Ford. I did send an email out to all the board members, including the superintendent and assistant. My biggest concern with this is they've always sent out surveys. Yeah, you might have reached out to a few parents, but which ones did you reach out to? Because not every parent got a survey with this change. It's a major change. And I really don't like, I mean, you got little kids there already early. They spent their time in school. Now you're gonna make them stay an extra time just because you want to change time. Another thing too, we built this school for all kids. Now it's a problem with the cafeteria. I mean, was that not thought about when the school was built? Really? But that's my biggest concern is it's not just 5 parents you should reach out to all the parents and get their opinions and their feedback, not just whoever you want to reach out to. Because there's people who have to work, that work in Craven County, Onslow County. I work for the county here. I have to be to work at 8 o'clock. And you're wanting a kid to sit in a classroom and what they would do. And I don't really like the fact that little kids are gonna have to sit extra. I have a special needs son as well. So he's been in school all day, and you want him to sit 25 minutes in a classroom with no telling how many kids there is. I just thought it should have been something that was planned out more, the board vote on it, y'all get all your surveys from all the parents, see who's for it and who's not it. But that's a big change if you're changing. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Got a motion on the floor. Need a second.
Call for discussion.
Discussion.
I feel like it's my turn.
Please.
I'd like to see some kind of survey and some kind of public input more than what we've done. That's just me. But she makes a very good point. I don't know how much research we've done behind this, and there's a lot that goes on. I can appreciate what Dr. Parker's saying too. But maybe we can meet in the middle, or maybe we can get a little more input. I know we don't have much time to play with. None. But maybe we could ask the parents over the next week or so, or next few days, and get a little bit more input than what we've got. That's just my opinion. Transportation, work schedules, there's a lot that comes into it. I don't think that we have quite done a good enough job of researching it, but again, that's my opinion.
Mr. Griffin.
I'd like to hear Dr. Parker, if you could you restate how you came to the, I mean, I'm here to support the staff and their research or whatever. I'd like to hear how you, I mean, I understand the confusion at breakfast, and we've had complaints ever since we got in school about elementary and school, them mixing, and I think this is a really good effort to try to divide it. And plus the research shows that older kids do better going to school later. And we're here to try to do all the improvement and get the best education for our kids. So I'd like to hear what you got to say about what went into this time change again, just so I can understand it again, please.
And just a second, tie it into what Mr. Griffin is saying, if you could give us some idea of maybe how many younger kids or how many kids would have to be looked after for that 25 minutes or ever how long. I mean, do you know about how many that would?
We counted last week, non-staff members, children, I think it was 5. Now that changes every summer, you never know who's coming back or who's going somewhere else.
But you feel like it would be a manageable group with
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Noble, myself, Miss Molly Rouse, who's our data manager, Van Banks, our front desk, they went through the list of kids that they know are car riders.
So you wouldn't be looking at classroom size compatible numbers.
And neither would you be looking at that for high school kids having to wait. Just again, if you're talking probably less than 5.
On both sides.
Oh yes, sir. I mean, I stand at the front door as they come in. I mean, I know who my kids. I don't know the elementary, but I know which kids come in and are dropped off, and which kids that are that have elementary age kids, siblings or whatever. And we came up with 5. And that was kind of one of those Linda's kids, but Linda Murphy is. But so 5, she's 5. So 5 on the elementary side. think we came up with 4 on the high school side, if I'm not mistaken. Things with high school kids, they ride, you know, with other people. They ride with their friends. Some of them get their license throughout the course of the year. Just to speak to the overcapacity of, and I know y'all heard about the bullying, and everybody, that's the first word we say is bullying, not whether it is bullying or not. Most of that comes out of our bathroom and our cafeteria, just because it's a hard place to learn. With the addition of the 6th grade and the 21-22 school year, that's what really changed the game. I would say for the building. It does put a hamper on our bathrooms, especially our middle school bathrooms. You have 300 kids and you only have 2 bathrooms for that wing, and then when they go to lunch, you compound that with all the other, with 400 wing and the 600 wing, it's just overcapacity. But it comes back to a safety issue. I have a 1st grader, a 3rd grader, and a 6th grader. I don't want them mixing, and I've heard that many times from parents.
That's true.
That, you know, what's the safety? Yes, we do have adult supervision in the cafeteria, but it's still a challenge. There's a lot of moving parts in that cafeteria. A lot of activities that no child should see. 5 years old or 18-year-olds, but it happens. For me, it comes back to safety. And we probably spoke with 20 parents. Like I said, we met with our SGA. And we want our students to have a voice. We want our students to have a leadership role in our school. We have a wonderful SGA. I can think of one of them said, great, I can sleep 30 more minutes. But it always comes back to safety for me.
Michelle,
That's a key thing, is the safety of all our kids. When we're speaking about the high school, you know, coming in at 8:30, one of my things is preparing them for the future too. They're not gonna be able to go to work at 8:30. Now, whether that's a major component to speak about right now, but we also got to prepare them for the future. I don't know many jobs they can come in at 8:30. Yeah. But
There's a lot of jobs that have shift work where they second shift.
oh, and that's
goes
true
in
too. And
night
the
shift as well.
other thing is, education's everything, and more tutoring we can get in, that's great. But I would not like to think that kid that got there had to be tutored or whatever just because they're getting there early. We need something for them to do that's gonna enjoy instead of, unless the parent recommends tutoring at that time. I don't want it to be, they look at it as punishment sometimes.
but it ain't nothing structured set up, like, it's just
I mean,
in a holding room.
Yeah.
They'll probably, most of them are hanging in the collab space. I mean, they do that now.
Yeah, well, I'm just throwing some stuff out.
The building does, you know, it lends itself beautifully to collaboration and to
That is,
having a conversation.
yeah.
And the way our staff feel about relationships and having time to sit down with a kid in a non-academic
That's
setting.
true.
We started something last year called Check and Connect, where every staff member had a kid they checked in on every day, and that again lends itself, you know.
That's again, when some of you young leaders that are capable of doing that with a small kid, it would benefit. I can see that. Yeah.
Ms. Brewer?
So the difference in the high school in the afternoon and the elementary is how long, 30 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
30 minutes. So in that 30 minutes, we're talking about, like an elementary kid staying in a collab space, maybe doing their homework and that sort of thing. So,
And Mr. Novo's plan, one of his intervention blocks will be in today, so it's possible that they could just continue depending on what the kid needs.
but like Miss Corey says, she has a special needs, and I'm sure by the end of the day he's
Most of our, depending on what, our EC staff, our EC students do leave earlier than even Trent Elementary, the ones that are on the bus. So I'm not sure what happens with car riders. I guess that'd be a question for Miss Emma for elementary, and Miss Wade's there, so it wouldn't be a problem for Miss Wade's or Mr. Andrews.
So they actually, maybe they could talk to the parents on maybe if their kid would be better off going into the gym and playing
Yes,
for that 30 minutes versus going and sitting down and
Yes.
more structure for 30
We
minutes.
try to take a personalized approach with every kid, and that would, if there was a parent that had a concern that brought it to us, we would do our best to address it.
I think safety and that concern as far as separating the elementary and the high school has been an issue since the building was built, 6 years ago? So, 7 years ago.
Yes. And just for me, and if you heard me say on this board, always go back to the school. We was promised separation. And everything with the school we haven't gotten. And we always hear about high school and elementary meshing. We always hear about that. Again, I think the biggest blame is the school. We built a beautiful school, but it ain't functioning wise. I did have a few parents reach out that was, a little upset. Once I got educated on it, and was able to relay that message to them, they backed down because of, oh yeah, we did complain about separation. That was one of the biggest things that they were in, like, I don't want to see an elementary student eating lunch or breakfast in the classroom. Let me use that beautiful cafeteria, and that is help. And I know it's going to be some disruptions for parents, but again, if we're looking at that word that we sit here for, the best interest of the kids, safety is going to be the number one thing that we say. But my biggest thing is with the school, and also, as Ms. Corey said, maybe communicate a little better. As I relayed that message to the parents, it backed them down. Had we came out with that message up front, I think it would have eliminated a lot of this. Just let them know why we was doing it and communicate with them. For me, it kind of backed the parents that was in my ear down of, hey, we're doing this for safety. There will be space for your kid to go, and they was okay with it.
I think this is the best step that we got as far as being able to separate them. I was part of when we built the school, but it's the way,
Let's go back to the school. I just go back to the
yeah,
function of the school.
hindsight's 20/20. There's a lot of stuff we could have done different that would have made it a whole lot better. But we have to work through it, and this is one of the ways to work through it, I think. We've got a ton, most of the complaints was the mixing of the elementary and the bigger students.
As long as we've got a managed system, and we know where everybody's at,
Yes, sir.
and it's structured, and we can communicate with the parents upon their needs,
Yes, sir.
I feel like I could go with it. I would hope that you and him could work things out if, on one-on-one situation, he feels pretty good about it, and I would hope that you would. It's not perfect, but we're in a building where they're gonna be together, and I think this is one of the best things I've seen at kind of heading that off.
I feel better about it, just listening to why, cause when it's been told us from outside source, cause we don't hear a whole lot before we get here and address the situation.
Well,
And,
Well, it was a huge topic about
Yeah.
just having a single lunchroom. We were in the planning stages of
Yeah.
that building, and it was one of the things we were gonna save so much money by not having a lot of cafeteria staff in that. There's other things we could have done different,
same matter.
but it's just how, it was a huge topic.
And I forgot to mention this when I was talking, but it does add 30 instructional minutes a day to the elementary schedule. They weren't going to breakfast until 8:05, 8:10. So they really didn't start their day until 8:30, 8:35, depending on the grade level.
Ms. Corey, does that make
My
you,
motion
does that,
stands.
thank you for that.
I get the safety, I just think there should be more communication. If we knew this in March, I think there should have been a survey or something put out, and not just a flyer that says new changed hours with no explanation.
I don't see the flyer attached to the board materials, just for the sake of those watching at home. Could Dr. Parker, could you just reiterate what the proposal is for the new start times?
8:25, our official time,
Yep.
our buses will get off at 8 o'clock. They'll get off the bus at 7:55, go to get breakfast before homeroom. And then we start our classes at 8:25. Students are late at 8:10. We plan a support our SEL program, through Leader and Me, and then we'll get out at 3:25.
What time does elementary get out?
That was for high school.
We're 6:12.
I'm sorry, for secondary students.
Yeah, second, second. That's on a grade level, some come up about 2:45, 2:50, depends on grade level. Fifth grade, I would say 2:55, I think is what time. I was on the bus a lot, I'm sorry, I won't tell you wrong. That's what time I went to the bus stop, 2:55.
Elementary at 7:30. Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir.
So you say we consulted about 20 parents.
Yeah, I saw them at ball games, saw them at CCP events, saw them come in and met about attendance. I said, well, what do you think about this? Or,
We're in a very small place, very intimate. You figure this out by now. You think we, not accusing you of anything or anybody else, but she has expressed a little more
I agree.
concern. Maybe we could poll a little bit
I
harder.
totally agree.
Okay.
That was a
Thank you,
misstep on our part.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Got a motion? I'll second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Board members' comment. Mr. Watson, any final parting shots?
This really is not related to our day-to-day, but I just wanna, and it may not be appropriate, but I wanna say it. We had a tragedy in our family, in our board family this past week, might have been over a week, and everybody's aware Billy's daughter was almost near fatal, and I just wanna say it's an advertisement to how much we care about each other, and it also lets you know what group prayer does. And we have all been hard at it this week. We've all been communicating with each other about, and sometimes we come across as being a little bit cantankerous towards each other. I think that's just a matter of getting business done on a very intimate setting. Billy and I grew up together fighting on a basketball court in his backyard. We're cousins. All of us are. And we lose sight of it sometimes when we get snipping at each other, and that doesn't happen much. Most of the time, 95% of the time, we vote unanimous on everything, as y'all can hear. But we had a close call this past week, and I think it's going to bring us all closer together. And I just wanted to just commend everybody and just realize the power of prayer, because that's what's got us to this point, and she's doing a whole lot better. And we love you and we appreciate you. Everybody. That's all I got.
Mr. Griffin?
Well, he took and listened to my speech. And every time we battled in the backyard, I won, just for the record. But anyway.
He had a size advantage a little bit now.
I appreciate all the support that I got this week. I got it from all over the state. I think Lisa May had contacted the school board association. I started getting calls from them. And anyway, everything is looking good for my daughter. And I appreciate all the parents and all the emails and texts and calls that I'm still getting. And I'm still trying to answer them. TY means thank you, because I'm about tired of typing. But I still enjoy this.
I'm trying to figure out who Ty was.
Yeah. I was just surprised you were able to read it. But anyway,
I had help.
everything's looking pretty good on her. Everything that was happening with her, they said would take maybe a couple of hours, happening in just minutes, and so they thought and then it kind of got to a point that she didn't really get a whole lot better, because she got kicked up in the diaphragm and she's having a hard time breathing. Her left lung has still got a lot of stuff in it, but I think I heard my wife said that she actually ate solid food today, which somebody questioned that. I don't know whether that's true or not, because we left about lunchtime today and not going back to her sometime tomorrow. Because she's stable enough now, we were actually able to talk to her. She started talking to us Wednesday. My wife and I were in there, and she said she mumbled that we were too close, we were annoying her. And so then it kind of just leveled off. We didn't really get any better. And today she was actually sitting in a chair, and we actually were carrying on conversations, and everything appears no neurological damage. My wife and her husband actually did CPR for close to 40 minutes before the EMS got there. And it didn't look good Monday. They told us to call the family in. So I appreciate all the prayers my family does and everybody else. Everybody at this table I talked to at least a couple times this week, I think. And I know everybody was hearing things, and I was trying to tell Charlie Ray, so Larry would go down there and talk to him. And that worked out pretty good, I think. But I appreciate all y'all. And that's kind of it. I don't have any other comments other than I think everybody in Jones County pretty much has contacted our family one way or the other. That's it.
Yes, we are. Any comment?
He probably knows my feelings, in his family, but, God blessed me to have Julie. Actually, 4 of his 6 kids played sports with me, and, I brought in a photo lodge that Mr. Blackwell put together the year that his daughter was a senior, and it's the only one that was out in the whole house. The rest of the things packed away, and why that one was in the corner, I don't know. I was trying to remember Julie's jersey number, and I knew it was 30. I thought it was 30, but I opened that up like a couple of days ago, and it was Julie's senior year, and it's just special to me. But I'm glad that was there. I just thank God for allowing me to be a part of so many kids' lives.
Ms. Bird?
Thank you, Dr. Parker, for being here to clarify some things and help with my understanding, and also I commend you on the corrective criticism and accepting it, and using that for future use. To piggyback off of them about Billy's daughter, I don't know, I've never met Julie. I've met her son. He's adorable. So, but speaking as a parent, I can only imagine. So my heart goes out to what they experienced, and the prayers continue for them to continue to heal. But I do want to share that there is a GoFundMe that someone set up for her, and I'm sure any type of monetary or beyond prayer, if you can't do more than monetary prayer, certainly, but she does have a business she's running, and she's not there to run it, but it looks like she's got a lot of help, but that is an expensive ordeal. So if anyone chooses to send a little something their way, I'm sure it would be helpful. And we got you, Billy. Anything you need, we'll be here for you. And that's all I have.
It really will continue to pray for you and hope everything works out for you. So keep your head up. Also, to the parents that came tonight, I want to thank you for the public comment and keeping us on our toes. We always need that public comment, and that's what we're here for, the public. And we need to hear those things. If we don't hear them, we don't know what's going on or what the parents think. So we thank you for coming out and doing that, and continue to come out. I know the time is hard, but again, thank you. And to the staff, teachers, and everybody, I hope you have a good start of the year. We won't meet until after that, but I want to make sure everybody's safe, and that we pray that everybody's safe and that y'all have a great year. Motion to enter closed session to discuss personnel.
A motion.
A motion second.
Second.
Got a second. But now in the closed session.
Stay put, y'all.